she was make sure she. Yeah, you remember to call your mom. Wes is gonna kind of step out.
I think it's 3 o'clock and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Linda Tullis, the superintendent, and we want to welcome you to the first of our town hall virtual meetings. Included in our question and answer group are Krista Fortenberry, Director of Special Services, Amanda Biddle, Federal and State Programs Coordinator, Justin Holt, High School Principal, Elizabeth Robinson, Elementary Principal, Sarah Williams, the School RN. And in our audience, we have the President of the School Board, Jeff Young, and we also have Paul Prosser, the Principal, Brenda Campbell, the Assistant High School Principal, and Debbie and Wes Minshews. The Minshews are our technology people. We understand that there's a lot of apprehension about the return to school on August 24th. We also understand that there is a need for our students to be back in some sense of normalcy, which means to us being back in school face to face. Nothing about school, though, will be the same as it was prior to March 13th, pre-COVID-19.
It just says delay.
McGehee School District's leadership team has been meeting regularly, once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, to make our plan for a safe and healthy re-entry into school. Although our plan is strongly supportive of our students returning to school face-to-face with face-to-face instruction, it does include a virtual component which may be restructured according to the numbers that we get from the survey. All guidelines from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the Arkansas Department of Health will be followed. We have ordered $200,000 worth of personal protective equipment and over $200,000 worth of Chromebooks. We have restructured the day and/or classes to reduce the transition times for students. There are hand sanitizing stations throughout all of the schools. We have water bottle filling stations and renovated restrooms with touch-free features. We're planning for food safety and for student meal delivery services. The district is doing everything in its power to implement a school day that is safe and protective of all of our students and staff. Buses will have hand sanitizing required upon entering the bus and entering the schools, but our parents are going to be critical in making the district's plan work. We know that all parents want the best and safest practices for re-entry to school. We want to thank you in advance for all that you are doing and will do to support us, and we will support you in the choices that you make about returning to school. We appreciate your help in asking your child to social distance at bus stops, at breaks, and on the playgrounds. Please have your child bring his or her own water bottle and supplies to school and emphasize that there will be no sharing of these things, and we will help them learn good health practices at schools. All right, our elementary principal, our director of special services, our high school principals will summarize their plans before we go into question and answers. But please remember that just as you listen to the governor and all of the other people speak, everything changes from minute to minute, and what we say today may change tomorrow when we learn something different from the Arkansas Department of Health and from the Department of Education. First, we'll start with Krista Fortenberry.
Hi, I'm Krista Fortenberry. I'm the Director of Special Services, and I just wanted to cover part of our reentry plan with everyone this afternoon as far as special education goes, and as far as our students with 504 plans, our students who receive dyslexia intervention, and some of our medically fragile students as well. Ideally, we would like students to come to school who receive special education services and other special services. Of course, it is a parent's decision to make, But ideally, a student who requires services that are special services do work better one-on-one and face-to-face with their teacher rather than through the computer screen. Ultimately, we may end up having to do blended learning, as some of you probably read our FAQ page, and the principals will cover a little bit more of that this afternoon as well. However, we do encourage parents who have children that are able to come to school to go ahead and send them to school. We do understand that there are parents that have children who are medically fragile or who have other circumstances in which they would do better, not at school or in a group setting during COVID-19. And we certainly understand that and will work well with you as far as that goes. All that being said, our special education teachers have been very busy planning both virtual classrooms and their regular on-site classrooms for the students in case we have to move into blended learning. Your students will learn how to use the computers, the Chromebooks, and the programs that the teachers are working to establish for them while they're on site. So they are prepared in the situation that we do have to leave school and prepare for blended learning. Some parents have asked questions about how are we going to know if their students are ready to move on to the next grade level or their next IEP goals. And our plan right now is for our special education teachers to assess the students within the first 2 weeks of school for on-site instruction to determine their present levels. And at that point, they will take a look at the students' IEP goals and be in contact with the parents should any changes or amendments need to be made at that point in time. A question was asked about login times for virtual students who receive special education services. At this point, we're just being told that we will be following the federal law, which are our IEPs. And our IEPs state the number of minutes that a student receives services. For example, some students may receive 300 minutes a week, which is 60 minutes a day. So they would have to log in virtually for at least their 60 minutes of time for their special education services, along with their general ed time. If a student receives 1,800 minutes per week of special education services, they would pretty much be logged in 6 hours a day at this point. Until we receive any further guidance, that's what we are told at this point, is that we will be following our established IEPs unless we have to make amendments or changes per the IEP committee decision, which of course parents are part of. Therapies, as far as our therapies go, our speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. For our therapies, we have sneeze guards that are going to be in place. I know you have possibly seen these set up in businesses or stores that are the acrylic sheets that are in between the two communicators. And we have those set up for therapies as well as face shields. Another question that has come up is about students that may not be able to tolerate wearing masks who receive special services. And students that are in the 4th grade or above, if they're not able to tolerate wearing a mask, we will provide a face shield for them to wear to help keep them safe and others safe as well. Students who are in the process for being tested for special education, when we had to close school March 13th, will be contacted in the next week, and we will establish times with parents for students to come in individually to continue with their testing. We've received notification that we're able to do that at this point, so we will be in contact with those parents. As far as students who receive reading intervention for dyslexia type reading problems, Ms. Jackson is working on online platforms at this point, and we are also purchasing a Barton online platform that corresponds with Barton for those students to be able to use. 504 students will continue to receive their accommodations as previously stated in their plans. The plans will be reviewed by the 504 coordinators and the parents and the committees at the beginning of the school year as well. So all of that being said, my recommendation is that if you're able to send your child to school to receive their special services, we strongly encourage you to do so. Of course, like I said earlier, there may be situations where that's not feasible, and we're here and stand ready and willing to work with you on what we need to do as far as that goes.
I'm Elizabeth Robinson. I'm the elementary principal. I'm going to outline my plan, and I'll try to not repeat too much of what you've heard. Things are a little bit different by building. As has been said, we've been planning, and we want our students to have as normal of a school day as possible, but for them to still be safe. One thing I want to say immediately that has been a large concern to many parents, what we did in the spring with AMI packets, that is not how school is going to look this next year. That was a way for us to improvise in the short time that we had and continue learning. We have other options for this year, so I know there's a lot of fear in getting packets and packets of worksheets again, so please know that's not how we plan to teach this year. You're hearing a lot about blended learning, and Krista mentioned that just a moment ago. This simply means blended learning is that we're going to prepare to teach the students at school or on site, at school and on site, as well as at home, should we be sent home by the Department of Health again. While we're here on site, we will practice using the Chromebooks, the technology, which is Google Classroom, so that students know how to do that when we get sent home. They will be trained and understand that. If you select the virtual option, that is different than blended learning. We will finalize our options for blended learning after we get everyone's survey back on July 20th. So if you've not completed that survey, you should have received one in the mail, and it is on our website. Please complete that. If your child opts for virtual learning, they will do everything at home and not receive instruction on campus. As of right now, we're being asked that you commit for one semester, and we will be contacting you after July 20th for a contract regarding virtual learning. Pre-K will not have the option of virtual learning because we cannot meet ABC requirements, so Pre-K will have to be on site. All students will be provided a device, whether you choose on-site learning or virtual learning. They're going to be responsible for using this device every day, taking it home to charge and returning it. Students in K1 will be issued a tablet, where students in grades 2 and over will receive a Chromebook. Internet connection has been an issue. There will be hotspots available in the school parking lots, the City Hall in Arkansas City, the City Hall in Watson, the fire station in Tiller, and the fire station in Kelso and Roar. The next really big question that I've heard a lot is about masks. Our recommendations at this time are for students in grades 4 and up to wear a mask when instructed. We will make sure that they wear masks when they transition from one area of the building to another. Students in grades 3 and younger are recommended to wear a mask if they're able. While in the classroom, we hope to be able to space appropriately and not always have to have the mask on within the room. If you have a medical or other concern that prohibits you from wearing the mask, we hear lots of questions about asthma and things like that. We'll contact the school nurse. You can contact them or the office, and we will take care of that need that way. Additionally, I think Ms. Tullis stated this, all students grades 4 and up will be asked to wear a mask on the school bus. The district is providing disposable masks for the school bus and then 2 cloth masks for the students to use at school. Students will get to go to pull-out, which is art, music, or PE. They will eat in the lunchroom. We're going to have a rotation, 1 week in the lunchroom, 1 week in the classroom, so we can keep the numbers down in the cafeteria. We will still have breakfast in the classroom. I know a big question has been about recess. We will still have recess. We will only have 1 grade on the playground at a time, and we will have them spaced out. But we know that students sitting in one desk all day in the same room is not a good situation. We've mentioned hand sanitizing. We will wash our hands as often as possible and use hand sanitizer every time we go to in another room and going to pull out the cafeteria, the playground. To transition from one place to another, we will use outside routes as much as possible so we're not passing in the hallways. One change is in the morning time. Students would sit in the hall until 7:45 when they went in the classroom. Starting now at 7:30, they will go on in the classroom, so to avoid congestion in the hallways. One thing we've talked about earlier, Ms. Tullis talked about parents helping us. Please screen your children before you send them to school. Make sure they don't have a temperature or they don't have any other symptoms related to COVID. If they do have fever or those symptoms, please call and let us know, just so we can keep an accurate count. We want to stay on top of everything. We have made one other change that's different. When you drop your students off, if they come or they're car riders, we're going to ask that you not enter the building with your student. We're trying to avoid extra people in the building. Please don't panic. I know some of you have very small children and you worry about them getting where they need to be. We have plenty of staff with plans to have them to help everyone get to where they're going to need to go. Pre-K and kindergarten students, you will have additional instructions. We're going to provide you some different drop-off options, especially to start school. For the first day of school, we are working on a way to have a fun drop-off for your students, because I know first day of school pictures are a big deal to a lot of parents. So we will have a plan to still keep that special, even though it's going to look a little different. We're asking that visitors to the building, we're only going to allow visitors to the building to the office. We're not going to let you pass the office, just to keep extra germs and extra exposure out of our building. So we really hope, if your situation allows you, that we can see your students on August 24th. We're excited, even though it's going to look different, we're excited to get to see everyone again. And if you haven't, just a reminder, please, please, please get that survey done so we can make our plans.
Good afternoon, Justin Holt, high school principal. I want to start with those of you that are asking questions right now. Continue asking those questions. Ms. Fortenberry is taking those questions and writing them down for us to address once we finish with the overview of our plan. So continue asking those questions. As far as the high school goes, and I want to make sure it's clear, when I'm referring to the high school, I am referring to grades 7 through 12. We will be offering two types of services. We will have your traditional on-site school option. Students that do choose the traditional on-site will be able to attend their normal classes as normal. You've heard many of the safety protocols we have in place to keep the building safe and keep the students safe and keep the faculty safe. All bathrooms now will be touchless. Other than getting in and out of the bathrooms, the doors, everything in the bathroom will be touchless. From the soap to the water to using the bathroom, everything will be touchless. As far as the rest of the things with the traditional, we will be going to more of a modified block schedule to help limit transitions. Students will start the day in a homeroom where they will have breakfast in the classroom every morning. They'll also have the opportunity for interventions, as well as complete a social emotional learning program to help deal with some of the side effects of this pandemic. Also, those students will have the option to take all AP and concurrent credit courses as you would normally in a traditional schedule. And as the second option will be the virtual academy. These students will be enrolled in a self-paced course. The start date and end date for those courses will be the same as each semester of the school year, but those kids will have the ability to work at their own pace, at kind of their convenience. We do suggest that you try to keep a normal routine schedule for those kids to constantly and keep pace with that coursework. It is very easy in our experience with this virtual academy that students can fall behind very quickly, and they find themselves with weekend assignments and things of that nature in order to catch up. Those kids that do complete the virtual academy will have to do 100% of the course, just as they would if they were on site, and then their grading will fall into that manner. If a student does not complete 100% of the coursework, they will not receive the credit for that course. Which brings me to my biggest worry of the virtual is kids getting behind on credits, and it can be very easy to do in a virtual setting without the proper help and the proper kind of times to keep yourself at a good pace. Our virtual academy will not be taught by teachers on our campus. They will be through one of the many programs that we use. So those students that have to get in touch with those teachers of those courses, you will have to contact them directly. Those will not be calls that we can fill in the counselor's office or the principal's office. Those will have to be addressed with the company and the teacher through that course. Also, kids that elect to go with the virtual academy, they will take courses to meet graduation requirements. They will not be able to take courses such as your AP or concurrent credit courses, or even the courses that we offer at the VOTEC. And our agreement with UAM, those courses, those concurrent credit courses, must be taught on campus. That is part of our agreement with UAM. So those kids won't be they won't have the same courses that we offer on campus, but they will be similar. They just won't have access to those AP or concurrent credit courses. Our staff, I can't elaborate enough that nothing replaces what a kid's going to get in a traditional classroom with a traditional certified teacher in person. Our staff has been in many trainings throughout the summer, and will continue to have trainings on digital platforms and the blended learning. I believe it is best for those students to be on site to help, because those AC tests are not going to change. We have programs within the school that we have began using to help improve ACT scores, and we have seen great improvement in ACT scores. We would love for those kids to be on campus to receive that, and it is my opinion that will be best for those kids moving forward. But those that do choose to be on site will have all the safety protocols in place. As regarding masks, we will ask students to wear masks while they're in the hallways and transitioning from class to class. And teachers will kind of have their rules for their classroom regarding masks. Students will have to, maintain the rules of the mask. But as Ms. Robinson stated, they will be given to, and that will also occur at the high school. All kids that do the virtual will be able to participate in any school athletics or club, but that will be at the transportation of the parent. Will have to transport them to the school in order to participate in those practices and games. Those kids can still ride the bus to games and away games, but this parent will have to bring the kid to campus in order for them to use the school transportation for that. With that, I thank you everyone for being patient with us as we develop a plan. I want to, these plans are subject to change. So please be with us and bear with us. And at this point, I guess you ready to take questions?
Well, I want to say one more thing before we take any questions. Although we have been given waivers for many things, and especially for virtual, there are no waivers on the 178 days plus 2 parent-teacher conference days for students. And there are no waivers on teacher contracts. So everything about that stays the same. So when you, after we get the new calendar finished and taken before the board on the 27th of July, you will see that the calendar looks different. We have to get in those 178 days of student interaction. And so therefore there are going to be some days that we thought we were going to have holidays that we're not going to have those holidays. We are trying very hard not to do anything about the 1 week at Thanksgiving and the 1 week, the 2 weeks at Christmas. But all of the other holidays are subject to being Student Interaction Day. Can we have the first question?
Let me start. Let me address open house for elementary, and then Justin can address high school. We have open house dates. The way I had that set up was that one grade level at a time would come in, and we had multiple doors so that everyone could distance within the classroom and wear masks. I cannot publish those dates now that the school calendar is going to have to change. My open house dates may change a little bit, so we'll be getting those out. In addition, we will also have a virtual option for those that are not able to come on site at that time. Justin, if you have open house?
Open house for the high school?
Yes.
We are looking at options for both virtual and on-site. At the moment, those plans are being developed.
The next question was, how will absentees be counted? If you are present for on-site instruction, if you participate in a planned district activity, or if you're engaged in scheduled instruction at an off-site, such as remote learning, you're counted as being at school. That is the definition from the Department of Education. My last one that I have here, school supply list. We have that ready to go out this week, and we were finalizing that. For virtual students, you're going to need just your basic items at home. If there are additional items that are needed, we will let you know that. It will all depend upon the provider and how that works. And books available for AR testing. We will have that available for on-site students. If you're doing virtual with a provider, then you're not going to be doing AR testing with us. But we are also looking at a way to have books online available for students, so they don't have to actually physically check out a book. They can check them out digitally. Those were my three.
Okay, I'll take this one. What about vouchers for food if virtual is chosen? We're going to be working on the cafeterias. Some suggestions are that we do all 5 meals, breakfast and lunch for all 5 days, and deliver them on the bus as we did this before school was out. And we're thinking of that. We're thinking of twice a week, just because all of the food would have to be stored or refrigerated, and we don't know what the parents have available to them. But we will have, if you choose virtual, you are still one of our children. I mean, your child is still one of our children. And we will work to get the waivers to deliver food for those that choose virtual.
Okay, I have a couple regarding virtual learning. One is, if I go to a hotspot for internet, can we download all work for the day, and do we have to upload it back the next day? If you're choosing the McGehee Virtual Academy, one of the requirements is that you have reliable internet in your home, because going to a hotspot will not be adequate for the McGehee Virtual Academy, as the students will be accessing course content on the computer. So you will need reliable internet in your home in order for the students to do the McGehee Virtual Academy. We will provide a device for the students, but not the internet service. The hotspots within the community will be there for when we switch from on-site learning to blended learning. In case of school closures, we will have lessons provided in Google Classroom, and they are available off-site, so parents will be able to drive to the hotspots, download the content from Google Classroom, take it home, and the parents can do that. The students can do that work at home, and then you go back to the hotspot and upload the work from the day before, the week before. I think you can download it for a week at a time. So to answer that, it's not feasible for virtual academy, but if we do blended, you will be able to download and upload. Also, will they do online all day, every day? Currently, the plan is to use a vendor where students can log in at any time during the day to do their virtual coursework. The pace is dependent on the pace of the student. So if your student is able to master the content, It may take them a shorter amount of time. If your student struggles with content, then it may take them a longer amount of time to master the skills and move to the next lesson. When will virtual learning begin? Virtual learning will begin on August 24th, which is the first day of our school year, and it will end on the last day of our school year. So it will run exactly like the school calendar. How much contact will parents have with the Lincoln Learning teacher? At that point, we just don't know. If your child is enrolled in the McGehee Virtual Academy, the teacher is a teacher that is employed by Lincoln Learning. So therefore, we do not know what kind of contact. We are steadily in contact with Lincoln Learning to learn more about their policies and procedures. And as soon as we find that information out, we will post that for you. It says, I was told that we can use hotspots, so I signed up my children up. We can't get internet at home, so now what? Ms. Tullis, I mean, that's going to have to be, that was a requirement. It was in our frequently asked questions. So if you will, just contact your child's office for more details about how to handle that, because you do have to have reliable internet in your home to do the virtual academy.
The hotspots for the virtual, to kind of piggyback on that question some more, that it won't be adequate to sit there for hours at a time to try to complete virtual work with the Lincoln Learning or whatever vendor that course is with, if that helps answer that question some. I'll answer some of the high school questions. First question is, what about textbooks for virtual? Most of the courses through the ASPRC, the textbooks are provided digitally with the course, so you would have access to that book via your device. There will not be a hard copy of the book. If hard copies are required, then the school, we would obviously take care of that. The next question is, how will block scheduling work? The way block scheduling is going to work is every morning we'll have a homeroom for 25 minutes. In that homeroom is where I mentioned earlier, the students will eat breakfast in the classroom, as well as complete some intervention work that is needed, and also some social emotional learning program. Next, the rest of the day, the kid will have 3 90-minute blocks. The class will be 90 minutes. It'll be an odd day and an even day, so on Mondays and Wednesdays, a child will go to first, third, and fifth period. In the middle of that is a 30-minute lunch. And then in the afternoons, students will have 7th and 8th period every day. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the student would go to 2nd, 4th, and 6th period. And then on Fridays, we will have what we refer to as Fast Fridays. Students will kind of go through their whole schedule with still keeping the 3 lunches. So that is how block scheduling will work for grades 7 through 12. The next question here is what do I do if I have a library book and an algebra book that belongs to the school? Just please bring that back to the school. You can bring it anytime. We're there from 8 to 3 Monday through Thursday and 8 to 12 on Fridays. You can, when you arrive to the school, just call the school. You can also place it on the bench and we'll grab it and return that. So there's no money owed there. The last question I have for the moment is what about sports? As of right now, the latest from the AAA is the AAA plans to have fall and spring sports. There is no current change to any normal plans. So that is all we know about sports for the moment. They have not given us any change other than sports will start at the normal schedule that they currently have.
I received a question, what about sports, football, masks with asthma? Right now, our football players that are conditioning, they are wearing masks and sanitizing when they are coming in and working out. As Mr. Holt said, we have not gotten any other guidelines for our sports yet. Mask with asthma, is it says in our fact sheet, if anybody at any point in time has difficulty breathing while wearing their mask, we recommend that they remove their mask. We are not going to expect somebody to wear a mask when they're having a difficult time breathing. The next question, is every staff member and student going to be tested prior to school opening? How can you prevent the spread if you don't know who has it? We will not be doing a mass testing of staff or students prior to school opening, mainly because you can test somebody right now and they could leave and go to Walmart and come in contact with COVID and still be positive even if their test result is negative. The next question, explain why parents will screen and not bus drivers. That is a huge time restraint on our bus drivers to try to screen each student before they enter the bus. So parents will be sent out a screening questionnaire to screen their students before they would bring them to school or to the bus stop in the mornings. And to go back to this question, how can you prevent the spread if you don't know who has it? That is why we have our guidelines in place of wearing masks when we are transitioning, the hand sanitizers at multiple locations throughout the building, encouraging hand washing when the students are in the restroom or available to wash their hands with soap and water, screening people prior to coming into the buildings, parents screening students before coming into school. That is how we are going to stop the spread, is by following those guidelines.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. What grade does Virtual Academy begin, and is it for the whole year? Virtual Academy begins at kindergarten. Pre-K is not allowed to do Virtual Academy based on the pre-K guidelines. And is it for the whole year? It can be for the whole year depending on if the parent chooses for it to be the whole year. We are going to do a 1 semester commitment. And I did have a question that said if my child is falling behind, can they switch from the Virtual Academy? We will require a 1 semester commitment. So if you choose to do Virtual Academy for the first semester, you'll be required to do August through December. When school starts back in January for the second semester, the student will be able to come back on campus at that time and switch back to on-site learning. So we have to have a 1 semester commitment for that. We will probably do another questionnaire in December to register those students for virtual for the second semester of the school year. Also, will we be giving students logins and passwords before August 24th to get familiar with it? At this point, I'm not sure about that, but I do know if you have signed your student up for the Virtual Academy, someone from your child's office will start contacting you after July the 20th to get your contact information to verify that you do have the appropriate internet access, those types of things, and they will get you set up with the virtual provider at that point. I also had some questions about I needed to differentiate what blended versus virtual is. Virtual Academy is where the students will receive online instruction and be at their homes. Blended learning is when students come to school for on-site traditional and then also have online components. So when students start in August, all teachers will be required to have classes set up in Google Classroom. The students will be practicing weekly, sometimes even daily, on using Google Classroom. I know at the elementary it's probably going to be daily, probably that way at the high school as well. The teachers will practice with the students how to log into Google Classroom, how to access the content, how to download material, how to upload material. So we will be practicing with the students from day one on how to download and upload assignments. So students will receive on-site instruction by the teacher, and then at some point during the day, they will also log into their Google Classroom and complete some assignments for the teachers. If we have to have a shutdown because of positive cases within our school, then those students who receive an on-site will transition to a virtual platform using Google Classroom. It will be the same Google Classroom that they've been using during the school year. The teachers will continue to create videos. They will continue to upload assignments into there. They will also schedule Google Meet sessions. We will not use Zoom. We will use Google Meet. So students will be able to have contact with their teachers. So the difference, the big difference is the virtual academy will not have a teacher from excuse me, ooh, that was a big slip. I knew it was going to get me. Will not have a teacher from McGehee. You will have a teacher from Lincoln Learning. On-site, blended, will have a teacher from McGehee.
Let me piggyback off of your response, Ms. Amanda, and answer this question. How will they do online when they need special help? With Lincoln Learning, students are placed in the grade levels in which they test into. So when we provide the IEP to Lincoln Learning and we provide their accommodations and their modifications, Lincoln Learning is able to implement those. With it being an online platform, things like extended time and some accommodations that are like that are automatically built into the program. So that's not going to be an actual accommodation that the student has to have because it's already in the program. The students, in speaking with Lincoln Learning, the students that do need to receive special education services can do so through Lincoln Learning. However, like I said earlier, we highly recommend for students that do need the special services to enroll in school if at all possible for on-site instruction. Just because when you're working, with a teacher right there with you, it's a little more effective sometimes than working through the computer screen when and or if possible.
Yeah, there was a question about where do we check out a Chromebook for virtual. When we contact you after July 20th, we will make all of those arrangements. It will be much closer to the start of school on August 24th. We're not quite ready for that. Another question was, if you do virtual, will they need to pick up work each week? No, that was from AMI Packet. If you do virtual, all of your content, all of your coursework will be on the computer and come from Lincoln Learning. What they have told me is, the parent as well as the student will need an email address to communicate with them, but it will all be online. You will not be picking up work each week. And I think Ms. Biddle explained is the McGehee Virtual Academy the program used for blended learning? No, those are two separate things. McGehee Virtual Academy is with the provider and the outside teachers of Lincoln Learning. Blended learning is using our teachers here and being on site part of the time using Google Classroom.
To add on to the one question about the picking up of packets, we cannot stress enough that, no longer will the AMI that we had in the spring when COVID began, we will no longer be doing the weekly AMI packets and turn in the next week and pick up another. Students will be a complete digital format, learning new material every day. So if you choose the Virtual Academy, it will not be like it was in April and May after spring break, where kids came weekly and picked up the paper packets and then completed them and went back home, and is kind of a cycle. It will be a curriculum that they must maintain weekly to stay the pace to keep the grade in the course. So we can't, stress it enough that what we had in April and May is not anything we will have going forward. So we hope that everyone understands that. I had a couple of questions. It says, if my child is doing virtual, how does that affect playing basketball? In regards to sports and virtual, they can participate in any school activity if they choose the Virtual Academy. The only catch to that is the parent must provide transportation to the school. So if a kid is playing football or is in basketball and the kid wants to be at school for 8th period athletics, the parent must bring the kid to school in order to get that child to practice. So they can participate in sports, but the parent is responsible for the transportation to the school. The next question is, when will schedules be available? Once we have a better grasp on the number of students that we have virtual, we will prepare a master schedule. The schedule is practically ready now, but we need to see what virtual changes for us. So you can expect schedules to be ready and picked up probably the first week of August, but closer to the start of school.
Okay, I have a question. What if the students test higher than grade level for Lincoln Learning? I want to go back in. I know that's something that Ms. Krista talked about, and I need to clarify that. The only time that we will be testing students for grade level is if the student has an IEP. Those students will need to be tested so that the grade appropriate instruction will take place for them. Students who do not have an IEP will be given us the coursework for the grade that they are enrolled in.
Question about when we find out kids' teachers. We have been discussing that. You know, it's kind of been a tradition around here that you post the teachers, you know, the week before open house. With social distancing requirements, we don't know that that's going to be an option this year. Most of our teachers plan to send out cards, notes to their teachers, but we can't finalize rosters or anything right now until we get all of our virtual learning figured out. So I don't have a date, but as soon as we know that, we will let parents know who the teachers are for their students. Another question, how many hours do 5th graders have to do a week on virtual? That's going to depend on the student. They will have their content and how fast that they learn it and master it and work through it will depend on how long it takes them. We all know some students work at different paces, and you know, one student it might take 2.5 hours, another one it might take 4. That is going to be dependent upon the student.
Okay, I have a question about, will there be a transcript of this provided? We will not do a transcript, but we do have the cards with all the questions that you all are submitting, and you can continue to submit those questions even after this live stream ends. We will update our frequently asked question document that is placed on our website, and you can find that on our Facebook page, and all the answers to these questions will be in that document. Also, there were some questions about computers for virtual students and on-site students. All students will be assigned a device of some type. Students who are in virtual will be assigned a device. Students who are on campus, K2, K1 will receive a tablet, and then 2 through 12 will receive a Chromebook. And those will be issued to the students, and the students will be responsible for keeping up with those throughout the entire school year, because as we stated earlier, just like supplies, we are not allowed to share devices, so each student will have their own device. We are still in the process of getting all those devices in, but once they all come in, every student will have their own device, whether they are virtual or on-site blended.
I got a question in reference to band students. Currently, we're waiting on more directive from the state on their requirements and guidelines for band students. It is my understanding they've been performing various studies on the effect of kind of the way that the air travels in a wind instrument and brass instruments and all your instruments, and even choir as well. And so until we get a guideline from the Department of Health or the Department of Education, we are still unsure about the effect of band students.
Am I talking about 6th grade?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
band in general.
Yeah.
we're checking on, there was a question about how fast the internet needed to be, and that is beyond our expertise.
Say, probably 10 meg would be ideal, but it would probably work well at 1 meg and above.
Okay, so I don't know if that could be heard or not. 10 meg would be ideal, but it would probably work with 1 meg or above.
Any provider locally that you have internet through should be suffice, but do be aware if you have multiple devices pulling from the same internet source at one time, it will slow that down. So one kid can't be playing his Xbox while the other does work, because it will, they're pulling from the same source.
Y'all
Is that
have
it?
any more?
Okay, you can close it up.
All right. Well, I want you to know
Hold
that
on.
Devices will be checked out from the library, and that's how we're gonna keep account of who has what.
Right, we will check those devices out, like I said, after we'll contact you again, whether you're virtual for your contract for your devices, or if they're on site, they will check those devices out too. It'll work kind of like your library book. It'll be checked out in each student's name, so we'll know who has which device, or what has been issued. It'll have a serial number, ID number, and it'll be matched to each student.
But when we say contract, essentially the parent has to check it out, and the parent is just saying, I received this device and we will take care of this device. So that will be your contract.
The question is two questions here. It says, will AP be available for virtual? Students that do enroll in the virtual academy will not be able to take AP courses. Those courses are not offered through the ASPRC vendors. It also says, how will it affect honor students? The only effect it has on any student is you still receive grades. So they will still have the same abilities as all students, whether on-site or virtual. But they just won't be able to take those AP or concurrent credit courses.
We are still accepting applications for PreK. 4-year-olds are admitted first. We have a procedure for who's admitted with PreK, but I cannot, it changes daily. I don't know what our current numbers are, but we also know that some people are choosing not to attend PreK. If you have an application, you can drop it off in our Dropbox. It is also available on our website, or you can call the office and someone will bring one out to you if you want to drop by.
I think that's all for today. I thank all of the parents, essentially those parents that put out the questions first so that we could have a FAQ about your concerns. We will continue to answer your questions because we are continually learning also about what we have to do to make the school safe for your child and for the staff. We know that our face-to-face instruction here at school with blended learning, it's pretty much as we have said it would be. Now, according to the numbers that we get from our surveys about taking virtual courses instead, we may have to tweak those, or we may have to change some things according to those numbers. But if we do, we will certainly let you know way ahead of time so that you can make choices and you can make sure that you have what you need for your child to learn. And at this time,
Do you have any more questions?
do you have any more?
You can just read them out to us.
Who do we talk to if we want more information on virtual? Just call us.
You can talk, if you need any more information on virtual, just contact your campus for your child, and they will be able to further address those questions. If you weren't able to watch this, you can continue commenting and asking questions on this feed, and we will go in and try to answer those questions as they come.
And I want to also say, please be aware, respond to the survey even if you plan for on-site instruction, just so we know that that's what you have selected for your child. We've also had some students or parents fill out the survey online about attending virtual, and those students were not enrolled here yet. If you have a new student to our district, we'll still need you to fill out enrollment papers here, and even if they're not going to be on site for instruction. But like I said, please fill out the survey regardless of your choice.
If you do change your mind to your original survey, you can go back online and resubmit another survey. The surveys are time-stamped, so we'll be able to tell which one is your most recent survey, and we will use that as our guide for whatever learning you choose.
And some of the surveys that we've gotten back didn't have the grade level of the child, so please put your the grade level of your child, and you make a survey for each child so that we'll know what grade that we're looking for.
Is that it?
Any other questions? Thank you for allowing us to answer some of your questions.